Sign it. Everything you need is in there. The amount is generous. You will be taken care of. The child will not exist the way quiet people do. Look at the envelope. No. I don't think you understand the position you are in. I understand it. My answer is still no.
You are a maid. You are carrying my fiancé's child, and you are sitting in a house that belongs to his world, not yours. You have no leverage here. You have no ground to stand on, so I'm going to ask you one more time.
Sign it. I think you should leave.
The door is behind you.
3 weeks later, at an altar in front of 300 people, Kang Se-jun looked at his fiancée in her perfect white dress and said 4 words that stopped the room completely. I know about the contract. If you think you know where this goes, stay with me, because nobody in that room did. 8 months before that wedding, Amara Ose was not thinking about anyone. She was 26 years old, and she had learned early that the world did not hand things to people like her. It offered them work, hard work, the kind that started before the sun and ended after it, the kind that left your hands dry and your back tight and your mind quiet in the specific way that comes from using every part of yourself just to stay standing. She was a live-in maid at the Shin household, a wealthy family connected to the kind of world she had been careful her whole life not to look at too directly. She did her work with precision, and she kept to herself, and she sent money home every month to her younger brother, who was 2 semesters away from finishing university. That was the shape of her life. That was what she was building toward. Not love, not comfort, not anything that required someone else to hand it to her. Just the slow, steady architecture of a life that belonged to her. She was not looking for anyone. She barely had time to look up. It was a Tuesday evening when Kang Se-jun came to the Shin household for the first time. She knew the name the way everyone in that world knew the name, not because anyone said it loudly, because nobody did, the kind of name that moves through rooms before the person arrives and stays after they leave. She had heard it once in the kitchen between 2 of the other staff, spoken in the particular low register people used for things they respected and feared equally.
She did not look up from what she was doing when he arrived. She was arranging a tea service in the hallway when the front door opened and the household shifted in that invisible way it did when someone important entered. Footsteps, voices dropping, the air changing quality slightly. She kept her hands moving. He was led to the main sitting room. She brought the tea. She set it down without ceremony, without performance, without the particular kind of anxious precision people brought to serving powerful men. She simply set it down the way she set everything down, correctly, efficiently, and then she turned to leave. "The handle on that tray," a voice said behind her. She stopped, turned. He was looking at the tray in her hands, not at her, at the tray. "It's loose," he said, "the left hinge. If you carry it the way you were carrying it, it will give eventually." She looked at the tray. He was right. She had noticed it that morning and had meant to report it. "Thank you," she said simply, and she left. She thought nothing of it. He came back the following week, and the week after that. Business with Mr. Shin, she assumed. Men like him had business that required regular attendance. She moved through his visits the way she moved through everything in that house, quietly, efficiently, without inserting herself. It was during his 4th visit that she spilled water near him. She was passing through the corridor with a glass of water for one of the other rooms when she turned a corner and he was standing there unexpectedly. The glass tipped. Water went across the floor, close to his shoes, but not on them. She did not apologize 4 times. She did not make the kind of breathless fuss that would have made the moment larger than it was. She set the glass down, went to the utility closet, came back with a cloth and cleaned it up, stood, picked up the glass. "You didn't apologize," he said. She looked at him. "I almost spilled water on you. I didn't actually spill water on you. The floor is clean. I didn't think an extended apology was necessary."
He looked at her for a moment. Something crossed his face that was not quite an expression. "It isn't," he said. She nodded once and continued down the corridor. She did not think about it again, but she noticed 3 visits later that when he arrived at the house, he moved through the rooms differently than other men of his standing did. He did not fill space the way powerful men often did, loudly, with the particular performance of men who needed rooms to know they had entered them. He was quiet in a way that felt deliberate, like a man who had decided at some point that the world did not need to hear him coming. She found herself noticing this the way you notice something before you understand that you are noticing it. It was a Thursday evening, later than his usual visits, when he was waiting in the corridor for Mr. Shin to finish a call, and she was passing through with fresh linens. He was standing at the window. She was going to pass without acknowledging him. That was the right thing. That was the appropriate thing. "How long have you worked here?" he said, without turning from the window. She stopped. 2 years, she said. "Do you like it?" She considered the question the way she considered everything, honestly. "I like that it's reliable," she said. "I like that I know what each day asks of me." He turned from the window then, looked at her directly for the first time in a way that felt like actual looking, not assessment, not the particular way men in his world looked at women, just looking. "That's not the same as liking it," he said. "No," she agreed. "It isn't." Something in the corridor shifted slightly, a quality of air. "What would you like?" he said. Nobody had asked her that in a long time. She thought about it genuinely. "To finish what I'm building," she said. "For my brother to graduate. For what I'm doing now to mean something later." He was quiet for a moment. "You're building toward someone else," he said. "I'm building toward my family," she said. "That's not someone else, that's the point." He looked at her for a long moment, and then Mr. Shin appeared at the end of the corridor, and the conversation ended the way it had begun, without announcement. But he came back the following week, and this time, when their paths crossed, he did not pretend they were strangers. They talked the way 2 people talk when they are both too honest to perform and too busy to waste time on things that don't matter. In corridors, in passing, in the 10 minutes between his meetings and his departures. Small conversations that became real ones. The kind of real that happens before you realize it's happening. "You don't act like people act around me," he told her one evening. He was waiting again. She had stopped pretending she wasn't willing to stop. "I don't know how people act around you," she said. "I only know how to act around you." He went very still, the way he sometimes went still, like something had landed precisely where he hadn't expected. "That's the most honest thing anyone has said to me in a long time," he said. "It's a small thing to say," she said. "Not in my world," he said quietly. She looked at him then, really looked, and she understood something she had been carefully not understanding for several weeks, that whatever was happening in these corridor conversations was not nothing, that she had stopped being indifferent to his visits somewhere along the way without choosing to. She did not say any of this, but she stopped walking away quite as quickly. Over the weeks that followed, something built between them that neither of them named. He began to arrive slightly earlier than his meetings required. She began to find herself in corridors she had no specific reason to be in. Their conversations grew longer and quieter, and more honest in the specific way conversations become honest when 2 people stop managing what the other person thinks of them. He told her things she suspected he did not tell people, small things, the weight of a life built entirely on decisions that could not be unmade, the specific loneliness of being surrounded by people who needed something from you. She told him things she kept private, her brother's name, the village she grew up in, the particular smell of her mother's kitchen that she thought about sometimes when she was tired. "You remember everything precisely," he said one evening. "Memory is all some people have to hold on to," she said. He was quiet for a moment. "What else do you hold on to?" She thought about it. "The idea that what I'm doing now is worth something later," she said, "that the hard part is not the whole part." He looked at her steadily. "I'd like to take you to dinner," he said, "not surrounded by the Shin household, not in a corridor, somewhere that is not this." She held his gaze. She thought about what it meant. She thought about his world and her world and the considerable distance between them.
"All right," she said. He looked at her like she had handed him something he hadn't expected to be given. They went on a Thursday. A quiet restaurant, not the kind that announced itself, the kind that existed for people who did not need a room to know they had arrived. They talked for 3 hours. She ate without self-consciousness. He ordered without performance. They disagreed twice about something small, and neither of them backed down, and both of them found the other more interesting for it. He dropped her back at the house and sat for a moment before she got out. "Next Thursday?" he said. "I work Thursdays," she said. "I know," he said. "I mean after." She almost smiled. "After," she agreed. She went inside. She stood in the hallway for a moment, in the quiet of the house, and let herself feel something she had not felt in a long time, the particular warmth of someone seeing you and choosing to keep looking. She felt it, and she let herself feel it, and that was where she made the space for everything that came next. If you were watching this and you have ever let yourself feel something you knew was complicated, drop a 1 in the comments, because Imara knew exactly what she was doing, and she chose it anyway. It was 6 weeks into what had become a quiet and real and unhurried thing between them that she understood she was pregnant. She sat with it for 3 days before she fully believed it. Then she sat with what it meant. She was not panicked. She was not undone. She was the kind of woman who, when life handed her something enormous, went very quiet and thought very carefully before she moved. She did not tell him, not yet. She needed to understand what she was going to do before she brought it to anyone else. This was hers first. Everything else came after. What she did not know, sitting alone in her small room with her hand resting on her stomach and her mind working through the shape of the future, was that someone else already knew, and that someone had already decided what to do about it. It was 6 weeks into what had become a quiet and real and unhurried thing between them that she understood she was pregnant. Ha-eun Choi had known about Amara for weeks before the envelope. She had not found out from Sejin. He had said nothing, which told her everything she needed to know, because men like Sejin did not go quiet about nothing. She had found out the way she found out everything that mattered, quietly, through the right people, without leaving a trace of the asking. She had watched. She had assessed. She had looked at Amara Ose the way you look at a problem you are measuring before you solve it. And she had decided. The pregnancy made the decision cleaner, not harder, cleaner, because a feeling could be waited out. A child could not. She came to the Shin household on a Wednesday afternoon under the cover of a social visit to Mrs. Shin, dressed perfectly, composed in the specific way of a woman who had prepared every detail of this visit in advance and was now simply executing it. She waited until Mrs. Shin left the room briefly. Then she asked for Amara by name. Amara came into the sitting room and found Ha-eun standing near the window, the envelope already on the table. "Sit down," Ha-eun said pleasantly. Amara did not sit down. "Is there something I can help you with?" she said. Ha-eun looked at her for a moment, taking in the stillness of her, the refusal to be diminished by the room or the moment or the woman standing in it. Something moved briefly behind Ha-eun's eyes, then it was gone. "I know about the child," she said. The room was very quiet. Amara said nothing. She did not flinch, did not shift, just looked at Ha-eun steadily and waited. "I'm giving you a choice," Ha-eun continued, her voice warm, almost gentle, the tone a woman explaining something reasonable to someone she was trying to help. "Everything you need is in that envelope. The amount is generous. You will be comfortable. Your brother's school fees will be covered for the remainder of his degree." A pause. "All I am asking is that you sign the document, handle the situation quietly, and leave. You will not be punished. You will not be pursued. You will simply be gone."
She said it the way you say something you have already decided is done, with the particular confidence of a woman who had never encountered a problem that money could not reframe into a solution. Amara looked at the envelope. Then she looked at Haun. "No," she said. Haun's expression did not change. "I don't think you understand the position you were in." "I understand it," Amara said. "My answer is still no." "You are a maid," Haun said, the warmth in her voice thinning slightly, just slightly, like a coat that had been opened to reveal something colder underneath. "You are carrying my fiancé's child in a house that belongs to his world, not yours. You have no leverage here. You have no ground to stand on, so I am going to ask you one more time, very politely." She tapped the envelope. "Sign it." Amara looked at her for a long moment, the kind of long moment that is not uncertainty, but decision. Not weakness, but the specific gathering of a woman who knows exactly who she is and is not going to be moved from it. "I think you should leave," she said. "The door is behind you." Haun looked at her, one long, measuring look, the look of a woman recalculating. Then she picked up the envelope from the table, smoothed her dress, and left without another word. If you think Haun walked away and let it go, you don't know women like Haun. Like and subscribe, because what she did next was something else entirely. 3 days after the visit, Amara was called to Mrs. Shin's office. A complaint had been filed. A valuable item was missing from one of the upper bedrooms. Several members of staff had been questioned. The evidence, Mrs. Shin said with genuine discomfort on her face, pointed to Amara. I looked at her steadily. "I didn't take anything," she said. "I believe you," Mrs. Shin said quietly. "But my husband has made a decision. I'm sorry, Amara. You have until the end of the week." No reference, no explanation that could be given to a future employer, no income, no housing. In one move, Haun had taken everything practical that Amara had built and dismantled it completely. The job, the room, the safety net, all of it. Gone. Amara packed her things on Friday evening. She did not cry in front of anyone. She thanked Mrs. Shin. She said goodbye to the 2 members of staff she had been closest to. She carried her bag out of the Shin household and stood on the street for a moment in the particular stillness of a woman who has just had the ground shifted under her and is deciding how to stand on what's left. She found a small room in a part of the city that was a long way from the Shin household in every sense. She paid the first month with the last of her savings. She found day work, cleaning offices, early mornings, late evenings. She told no one where she was. She did not call Sia-jun. She was not going to go to him reduced. She was not going to arrive at his door with nothing in her hands and ask him to fix what his world had broken. She handled it the way she had always handled things, privately, with her back straight and her face forward and her hands doing the next necessary thing. What she did not know was that Haun had made one mistake in all of it, one single mistake born entirely from the arrogance of a woman so certain of her own power that she had never learned to be careful with paper. The contract was signed. Haun's personal seal was on it. Her handwriting was on the margin notes. Her instruction was in the language of a woman who assumed the document would be destroyed once it had served its purpose. She had not accounted for the possibility that Amara would keep it. That Amara, who had grown up in a world where paper was the only protection people like her had, would fold it carefully and put it in the bottom of her bag and carry it with her when she left, just in case. Park Dae-ho had been Sia-jun's most trusted person for 10 years. He was not a man given to sentiment or unnecessary action. He moved through his responsibilities with the same economy his boss moved through everything. But he had watched Sia-jun in the months prior to all of this in the way that people who have worked closely with someone for a decade watch them. Not intrusively, just accurately. And he had noticed the change. He noticed the way Sia-jun arrived at the Shin household slightly earlier than necessary. He noticed the particular quality of his attention in the weeks after those visits, the way he was slightly more present and slightly less elsewhere than he had been for years. Daeho noticed. He said nothing. It was not his business.
But when Amara disappeared from the Shin household suddenly, with a dismissal attached to a theft claim that had no substance and no follow-through, something in Daeho's instinct moved. He investigated quietly, the way he did everything, and within 4 days he had the shape of it. The dismissal, the fabricated claim, the household visit Ha-eun had made the week prior, and then, through a contact who knew a contact, the existence of the document itself. He sat with it for 2 days. He understood what bringing it to Sejun meant. 3 weeks before the wedding, 2 families aligned, years of arrangement. The cost of what he was about to put on his boss's desk was not a small thing, and he wanted to be certain before he made it real. On the 3rd day, he walked into the office in the late evening and placed a folder on the desk. Sejun looked at it, then Daeho. "What is this?" "Read it," Daeho said. "Please." Sejun opened the folder. He read without speaking. His face did not change in the visible way that most people's faces change, but something in the room changed. A quality of air, the particular stillness that settles when a man who is very controlled encounters something that tests every part of that control. He read to the end, closed the folder. The room was very quiet for a long moment. "How long have you known?" he said. 2 days, Daeho said. "I wanted to be certain." "Where is she?" "I have an address," Daeho said. "She is alone. She has been doing day work." A pause. "She has not contacted anyone." Sejun stood up. "I am coming with you," Daeho said. "No," Sejun said. "You're not." He went alone, the way he came to her the first time in the corridor, without announcement, without preparation, just directly, because there was no version of this that benefited from being managed. She opened the door and looked at him. She was in a plain shirt and trousers, her hair pulled back, the face of a woman who had been working hard and was tired in the honest way that work makes you tired. She did not look surprised. She did not look relieved. She looked at him the way she always looked at him, steadily, waiting to understand what this was before she decided what to do with it.
"I know," he said simply. "I know what she did. I know about the contract. I know about the dismissal. All of it." She stepped back from the door. He came in. The room was small. A single window, a narrow bed, neatly made, a kettle on a table. The careful, sparse order of a woman making do with intention. He looked around at once. Then he looked at her. And she saw it move across his face, something he did not hide. The specific expression of a man confronting the direct consequences of his own silence. "She came to you with an envelope," he said, not a question. "She was very polite about it," Amara said. He was quiet for a moment. "I didn't know," he said. "I know you didn't," she said. "That's the only reason I opened the door." He looked at her steadily. "I'm sorry," he said. "The specific kind of sorry that is not a negotiation, that does not arrive with conditions or expectations, just the plain acknowledgement of a man who understands what his world cost someone who did not belong to it." Amara held his gaze. "Your wedding is in 3 weeks," she said. "I know," he said. "Then go," she said. "Whatever you decide, go decide it. Don't come back to this door until it is decided. I am not going to be the reason, and I am not going to be the question. Come back when you are the answer." He looked at her for a long moment. The small room around her. Everything she had been reduced to. Everything she had handled without a word to anyone. He nodded. He left. She stood behind the closed door for a moment. Then she put her hand on her stomach, gently, for the first time in front of no one, just herself. And she made a quiet and private decision that the life inside her was going to know from the very beginning that it was chosen, whatever came next. The wedding was everything it was supposed to be. The venue was extraordinary, 300 guests in their finest, flowers that had taken a week to arrange. 2 families who had been building toward this day for 6 months, seated in rows that represented every important connection in both their worlds. Kang Se-jun stood at the altar in a dark suit and a white shirt, with the face he always wore in rooms like this one. Still, controlled, unreadable to everyone except the one person in his world who had spent 10 years learning to read him. Daiho stood near the back. He had said nothing to anyone. He had watched his boss get dressed and get into the car, and he had said nothing because Sejun had made his decision, and Daiho's job was simply to be present for whatever came after it. The doors opened. Ha-eun appeared at the far end of the aisle. The room exhaled with pleasure. She was extraordinary and white. She walked with the composure of a woman who had spent 6 months removing every obstacle between herself and this moment, and was now simply collecting what she had earned. Her eyes found Sejun immediately and stayed there. The specific focus of a woman who is not going to be distracted from the finish line now that she can see it. She reached the altar. She looked up at him, and in the first second she saw it. She knew his face. She had studied it for 18 months, the way you study the face of a man whose world you intend to permanently enter. She knew his stillness, and she knew his distance, and she knew the particular expression he wore when he was managing a room. This was not that. This was decided. Her composure held, just barely. "Sejun," she said, low, controlled, meant only for him. "Not here. Whatever you are thinking, not like this." "I know what you did," he said, quiet, direct, no decoration. "The contract, the dismissal. I have the document, Ha-eun. I have your seal on it. I know what you paid her to sign, and I know what you had taken from her when she refused." Something cracked behind her composure. 6 months of perfect management, fracturing in real time.
She was nobody, Ha-eun said, her voice dropping but still carrying to the first 3 rows. She was the help. She had no place in your world, in our world, and she knew it. I was protecting what was mine. I was protecting us. "She is carrying my child," Sejun said, "and you tried to erase them both." The room did not breathe. Not one movement, not one sound. 300 people, and the only thing that existed in that space was the 2 people at the altar and the words that had just been said out loud in front of all of them. Ha-eun looked at him, one long, final look, the look of a woman who has lost control of something she planned with absolute precision and cannot fully accept the reality of it. Then she turned. She walked back down the aisle herself, head up, shoulders straight, the assembled composure of a woman deciding the story of this moment on her own terms, regardless of what had just happened in it. But her hands at her sides, where the guests in the rows could not see them, were shaking. Daeho fell into step behind Sejun without being asked. Behind them, the room stayed completely, absolutely silent. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. 300 people sitting inside the specific stunned quiet of witnessing something they had not been prepared for and would be talking about for the rest of their lives. Comment right now. Did Ha-eun deserve exactly what happened to her at that altar? Because I need to know what you think. Amara spent the wedding day working. She had a morning shift at an office building 2 districts away. She cleaned 4 floors, restocked 2 supply rooms, and ate her lunch on a bench outside because the break room was crowded and she preferred the quiet. She was good at her work the way she was good at everything, thoroughly without drawing attention to it. She came back to her small room in the afternoon and sat in the particular quiet of a woman who has been through something large and is deciding honestly what she wants on the other side of it. She had feelings for him. She was not going to pretend otherwise to herself. 3 months of something real does not disappear because it became complicated. Feelings are not that cooperative. She knew what she had felt in those corridor conversations and at that quiet restaurant, and in the specific way he had looked at her when she said something that surprised him. She knew what it was. She was not going to minimize it to make the current moment easier to carry. But she knew something about herself that she had always known. She did not want to be a consequence. She did not want to be the thing a man arrived at after the thing he had chosen first fell apart around him. She did not want to be chosen because a door had closed and she was the next door in the corridor. She wanted to be chosen deliberately, specifically, as the point, not the landing place. She wanted her child to grow up knowing their father had not stumbled into them.
that he had stood at an altar in front of 300 people and chosen a different direction and then walked directly, specifically, to them. She made herself tea. She sat with it. The city outside moved the way it always moved, indifferent and continuous, unaware that anything in her small room had shifted. Her phone lit up on the table. She looked at it. 2 words. It's done. She read it. She set the phone face down. She sat with it for a long moment, the way she sat with everything that mattered, fully, without rushing herself toward a feeling she hadn't arrived at yet. Then she picked the phone back up and typed 2 words back. I know. She put the phone down, and she waited. He knocked twice. She opened the door. He was still in his wedding suit, the jacket slightly open, the tie loosened, the specific appearance of a man who has done something enormous and come directly from the doing of it without stopping to prepare himself for what came next. You're still dressed, she said. I came straight here, he said. She looked at him for a moment. Then she stepped back. He came in. He sat down on the single chair. She sat on the edge of the bed across from him, the room quiet around them. Tell me one thing first, she said. Anything, he said.
She looked at him for one long moment, and then she laughed. The real kind, the unguarded, unheld kind that came from somewhere genuine and had nowhere else to go. And he went very still the way he always did when she did that, like he was memorizing it, like he was filing it somewhere he intended to return to for a long time. Go home and change, she said. You're sending me away, he said. I'm sending you to change your clothes, she said. There is a difference. Is there? He said. Go home, Seojun, she said, but she was still almost smiling, and they both knew it. He stood. He looked at her one final time in the way he sometimes looked at her, without the stillness, without the managed distance, just directly and completely, like she was the only thing in the room worth the full weight of his attention. I'll be back in 40 minutes, he said. I know, she said. He left. She stood in the middle of her small room for a moment. Then she went to the kettle. She filled it. She set out 2 cups on the table,
that hits
one
the
on
spot.
each side, without thinking
This is
about
just
it.
what I needed.
Just doing it. The automatic
so at
gesture of a
peace.
woman making tea for more than one person. She stood there and looked at the 2
That
cups.
hits the spot.
And for the first time in a long time, she was not building towards something alone. When he said, I know, about the contract in front of 300
I know your
people,
secret.
something shifted in that room that will not shift back. Because Hyun thought she could put a price on a life. She thought money and power and a sealed envelope could make a woman and a child simply disappear. She forgot that some things do not have a price, and she forgot that paper cuts both ways. Tell me in the comments, was Amara wrong to keep that contract? Was she wrong to say nothing and handle it alone? I genuinely want to know where you stand on this. If it's a pleasure watching, hit the like button right now and subscribe so you never miss the next one. Let's know where you're watching and what time is it. There are more stories like this one coming and you do not want to be late to them. Thank you for watching. We will be seeing you in the next one.